But before we get to our distinguished guest, we're going to start with Richard's IP in the news. And what are we talking about tonight?
The Metaverse. New toys for the Metaverse from Facebook.
So does anybody really know what the Metaverse is?
We'll find out.
I guess.
Sure.
Well, we're trying to read the tea leaves by reading the patent. So we have one from Facebook here, right? And Mark Zuckerberg has gone from just social media now. He has a special company for developing metaverse gadgets, I guess, right? So it's called Facebook Technologies, which I didn't know existed. And I guess he's in competition with Jeff Bezos now for like the weirdest, wildest stuff, right? So anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit about the patent?
Well, so when you're in the metaverse, I guess you're going to be wearing glasses. We'll all be wearing glasses, but special glasses that have all sorts of sensors and speakers all over them. So you can hear stuff, and there's just a whole lot to it. It has acoustic sensors, speakers, and so it can tell when you're talking, and it can put stuff in your ear through your glasses. It's just...
So the point is that this is like the beginning of the technology associated with the metaverse. It's a little bit like Google Glass, only they don't have the visual screens like Google Glass did.
Probably because Google Glass probably got the patent.
They probably have the patent, so they went full audio. And anyway, I just think it's an interesting topic, getting to see the future a little bit. Yep.
They kind of went backwards from what IBM did, because IBM started out as a business machines company, and now it has a whole lot of tech. Facebook started out as tech, and now it's getting into the Internet of Things and consumer products.
Right. So what will they think of next? Who knows?
Who knows?
But before we leave this topic, I'd like to check in with our guests. This is Richard's Roundtable. And does anybody have any comments or questions about intellectual property in general? So, Gene? What are your thoughts here on all of this stuff?
Well, just speaking about the metaverse, about Facebook's metaverse, I think it's really, it's about the Oculus. Isn't the Oculus the whole virtual reality headset that they've really spent a lot of money in? Isn't that really the entryway to the metaverse? And now the glasses it's more of like an augmented reality, so it like superimposes objects on your normal vision. Also, just it's a partnership with Ray-Ban, isn't it?
It very well could be. The patent is in the name of Facebook. I don't see any split assinees, which would show like a joint ownership, but it's possible.
Because I've seen commercials for it, and I thought it was a Ray-Ban, and then it says, Metaverse at the bottom.
But these don't have anything, at least in this patent that we're looking at, visually. Everything here is audio sensors.
Right. And it's like a regular pair of glasses.
Yeah.
So
it might be, so there may be another toy that you know about that we didn't find when we were looking at this patent.
Well, why limit yourselves to one gadget when you can make millions, right?
Exactly.
And so in any case, Paul, what are your thoughts on all of this stuff?
Well, with someone like me who works with a lot of small businesses, especially in the digital world, my perspective is always around these new technologies is how is advertising, marketing, especially for small businesses, going to enter that world? Is it there's a way to do it on Facebook that we all know, Instagram, et cetera, but this metaverse and how especially small digital businesses are going to play in that environment and how they will market themselves, especially in a service standpoint. I can understand product placement, but services like jeans, for example, digital marketing, how is that going? How are they going to present marketing opportunities for small players like that in this world? So I don't know. I haven't, it's just a very curious perspective from my standpoint. I haven't seen anybody really address it yet.
Right. And I think for me personally, the metaverse is still a little bit of a mystery, right? So I think they put it out there to kind of generate some buzz about it, but it's still not, it's obviously a technical journey of some sort that Facebook has in mind. And I like the idea that you're finding the niche in there for small businesses, because they should be able to capitalize on all this stuff too.
Yeah,
right?
Facebook ads are reasonably priced, but I wonder what Metaverse ads are gonna cost. Right?
They're going to be meta expensive, aren't
Meta
they?
expensive, right?
So, Brent, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a relative novice for intellectual property and patents, and I'm a tax credit guy. I'm a tax geek, but I'm always curious about hey, it's clear to me when a new product comes out, the value of obtaining a patent. But as we get into a more digital world and brands and service offerings over that are offered in a SaaS kind of platform, how do you protect those? What kind of intellectual property protection is available? How do you make sure you don't get pirated, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And you can't protect everything, right? It depends a lot on what you're doing. And, the easiest rule of thumb that I go by is if somebody sees it and they can copy it fairly easily, like on a digital platform, and it's protectable because it meets the requirements of patentability, seriously think about intellectual property protection. So, the digital world moves so fast, and sometimes the intellectual property world moves slower. So, there's a balance there between protecting things that are only short-term projects versus something that's maybe more long-term. And if you can keep it a secret at the back end in the software, and it would really take a lot of reverse engineering, that also may not make sense to file intellectual property. But it's very fact specific. You should talk with your intellectual property professional about it, because there's no one blanket right answer. It just depends on what you're doing and what your goals are.
Excellent. So, Adonica.
Honestly, I have a couple of questions about it. I echo Brent's sentiment in that I'm not an expert in this area, but I'm wanting to know, I guess just for the group, is this going to be something where Facebook exclusively provides the tools or the toys for the metaverse? Are other companies emerging that can also provide the tools and the toys for the metaverse? Or is this something that Facebook purely has a monopoly on because they know how the metaverse works? And so I'm just wondering if there's going to be other players coming into the metaverse toy space that you're aware of, or if this is something where we're just going to see a series of toys coming out exclusively from Facebook or Meta to be able to access the verse.
Well, if they keep getting patents on everything.
And I love your reference to toys too,
Yeah.
because really,
So that's a good question though. I mean, that's to be seen probably, but they are patenting everything they're coming up with now.
right. And they're going to, it depends on the strategy, right? You have Google on the one hand, which was very open source and opened up their platform to a lot of different developers. And then you have Apple, which really was a very closed system, and they limited a lot of development just to Apple licensees. And even in the beginning, it was only Apple stuff. It's a question of what business strategy you take, and both have been successful. So we just have to wait and see what Facebook does with the metaverse.
Well, they may not let things be compatible unless they give them their blessing, which I imagine that's what they'll do. Will they let other people make stuff? Probably, because
They'll charge them for it. They'll charge a
Yeah.
license fee, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
and just because Facebook is making the metaverse doesn't mean that's the only metaverse that can exist. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think didn't Activision have their own metaverse with the World of Warcraft, which was a very popular
Yeah.
game for the
Yeah.
last 5-6 years, and they were actually selling advertising within the game. You could purchase armor, pieces of the costume, whatever it was. So they've already been selling into that. I think it's really going to be a question of competing metaverses at some point. Facebook doesn't, it's not like they own the only, they're putting, they're a first mover or one of the first movers, but it's not going to be exclusive to them.
Wow, let's start our own metaverse right now. Everybody on this
A couple
show,
of billions.
let's
Yeah,
commit
sure.
to
Okay, but
starting
let's
our
ask
own
Ken-
metaverse.
Okay, but let's ask Kenya first. So,
Okay, well, Kenya, are you in or are you out?
but she has to give her
Well,
comments.
I'm definitely in. I'm definitely in. And to Jean's point, we at iHeart actually just announced last week that we did a partnership with Roblox. So we are going to be officially in the metaverse by Q3 of this year. That'll all be rolled out. There will be opportunities for advertisers that we work with to get ad space, to be a part of, experiences from all the podcasts to all the live events that we do. So Facebook is definitely not going to be the only player in that space.
Mhm.
Well,
Awesome.
that's good to know. So, your dream, Gene, of competing metaverses seems to be coming true even as we speak.
Yes. So
So if there's competing metaverses, does that mean you have to get toys to access each individual toys or tools to access each individual metaverse?
Think about Windows, Apple,
Yeah.
Beta, VHS. It's
Yeah.
going to be that kind of
It
thing.
seems
yeah.
very expensive for the consumer.
Well,
Just thinking.
Exactly.
I want to create a galactiverse, right? That encompasses the whole galaxy. Okay, why stop at the metaverse?
So
There you go.
I think we better move on. Although, the show wasn't really supposed to be about the metaverse, but let's face it, these people own
This
our
is
lives when they own everything.
What
right?
does metaverse though refer to music, like music verses, like
That-
lots of music
Let's
verses?
move on, shall we?
Okay.
So we would like to interview.
That was a dad joke.
Yeah, interview Gene and Paul. So do you want to introduce our guests?
Yes, we're going to talk to Gene and Paul.